What's up? Good morning and welcome to DaddyLeauges Podcast, The Talk. I'm your host, Nate. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, let me bring in my co-host, the man of NBC, Mr. Phooty T. How you doing this morning, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Just a little bit wet, but doing pretty good. It's been raining here for like the last 3 days.
All right, we're going to be honest. This is part two. Ooh, it's really loud on your side. I don't know what...
Select Under Armour and Nike.
We're listening to Under Armour and Nike. I don't know what happened there. This is part two of this stream because part one got shut down thanks to YouTube. And matter of fact, let me just pause for just a second. Let me just make sure. We got shut down on the first stream because we were... Oh, there it is. Okay, we're not shut down this time, which is a good thing. We were shut down because we were showing video from EA Play and the Madden section, and evidently, even though we were not showing the video as our own, and even though we made sure that you could see EA Play, and it was from the EA website and all that fun stuff, YouTube said no bueno, so they shut us down. So this is part two. You're not going to get any video, but it's all out there. Go to EA's YouTube page. Go to their Gridiron Notes and their news section on their Madden 20 website. You can see everything that you need to see there. Go to the 2 hour and 42 mark, and that's where the Madden section will start. But we're going to jump right back into part two of this. We got a little warm up, you and I, Phooty T. We get another one. Here we go. Let's talk about gameplay. So there wasn't a ton of gameplay. We didn't get to see hours and hours of all this gameplay. And honestly, it was a little hyped up that even at the beginning of their stream, they talked about we listened to feedback and we heard what you wanted and you wanted gameplay. And then they showed us like less than 2 minutes of gameplay. But we did get to see a little bit of gameplay, and then we've got our friends out there, Expert and Hollywood and many, many, many other people that are out there at EA Play who got it in their hands, and they're posting videos on Twitter, and they're talking about it. So what did you hear about gameplay? What did you see from gameplay? What are some of the things that you thought when we talk about gameplay?
Well, I noticed that it looked like the player movement was a little smoother, and that's what it seems like everyone keeps coming back and saying, that feels smoother. So that's good that the players can move around a little better. One thing I do kind of wonder, because this is not something they actually ever talked about, was, can linebackers still cover half the field? If they can move smoother, kind of makes me wonder, can they still get that ability back? I know they said they can't jump and get those 10-foot, catches, but I kind of wonder about it, is the linebackers movement so smooth that they can still cover half the field? I saw it looked like some of the blocking was a little better on some of the plays. Like one of them, a linebacker was coming in and the left guard was standing there, and instead of standing still and doing nothing and letting them go by, he actually picked up the block. I saw a couple of times where the running backs did some cut blocks and took the legs out of the defensive lineman coming in. So just like you said, out of the short clips they gave, because it was short clips, and it's kind of what I expected. They hyped up like they were going to show a lot, and of course they under-delivered, which is typical of EA in my opinion. But they had 30 minutes. They did show some things. I was kind of curious why there was no run plays run in those videos.
Yeah, you brought that up earlier, and that's a really good point, that they didn't. The few plays that we've seen were pass plays.
I would like to have seen run plays and how they're executed, but we'll see that in a few weeks, I guess, or whatever. But overall, I mean, I couldn't take a whole lot away from it. It did look a little smoother. That's about the best I could get out of it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about player movement here in just a second, but I agree with you. I remember seeing one play where it was either the fullback or the runback is like one of those reverse plays, and he did go out and just kind of stand in an area. Maybe that is just what it is going to be, but it did seem like you said there were some points where we got to see some better things, but it was pretty short and sweet. And I can really only go by what we are hearing from people like Expert and people like the Madden Bomber League and other leagues that were at EA Play that are posting videos. I even watched one from Sports Gamers Online this morning that just talked about those days of covering all the routes with one player, a 68 overall, 'll, fast linebacker, that those days are probably gone, and that's that's a fun thing to hear, right? And that's a good thing to hear because that's a step in the right direction. But like you said, I think we'll know more when we get more videos. They're not going to be able to show gameplay, but they're going to talk about gameplay from EA Play. I think we'll blast that out on all of our accounts here at Grown Folks and make sure that we share anything that we see. But I think also as the beta comes out, even though it's a closed beta, I think a lot of people will get their hands on it. And I'm hoping like Phooty T or somebody here can get their hands on it so that we can get some really good feedback. But let's talk about a big portion of that gameplay, and that's player movement. I even heard one person coin it as player movement 2.0. I think that was from the Sports Gamers Online video that I had seen. And they're saying that what they are feeling right now today is what we thought we were going to get in Madden 19, that when you're trying to just make those little moves to the left or to the right, you don't get that abrupt horizontal run stop situation, that you're actually getting those little jukes, those little shimmies, those little moves. I know in the run game that's going to be so important when there's just this little sliver of a hole that you see and you're trying to just barely make a move into there, and all of a sudden your guy's freaking off into the back of an offensive lineman or off into a whole nother gap that you didn't want to go. But overall, what did you see from player movement, and what are you hearing about player movement that either concerns you or excites you?
Well, like I said, it seems like everyone says that it's smoother, and I hope that continues to be the case when it's launched and after launch. Last year, it seemed like a lot of times the players would be stiff or you just didn't have good smooth movement. Of course, there's also got to be a balance there. A few years ago we had a problem where it was like, it felt like you were gliding on ice a lot, or skating, basically. I really hope that it doesn't get so smooth that your players feel like that again, where you're just like,
sure.
There needs to be physics in the game, which I feel like this game lacks, which is kind of odd that it's a football game and it lacks physics. That bothers me a lot. So, there was one play, and I know they said this was, it may be something that was special to Mahomes, about how he can, he has the ability to evade rush and stuff. He was full on running to the right, and I mean he stopped on less than a dime, like half a dime, and made a complete 180 the opposite direction, just wide open. And it seemed like in the video he didn't really lose any speed in doing that. Now I get
which we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and I get you want to make a mobile quarterback be able to get away better than a Ben Roethlisberger. I get that, and I'm not saying it should, but I don't think the guy should be able to just stop like that, and basically, and not even hardly even stop, but just keep his momentum and speed the opposite direction. It's things like that I look at and I'm just kind of like, you might be overdoing it here, and like it's one of those things we'll see when it comes out, and again like we talked about earlier, they could tune it. And then they tune it too far. Now, that's another one of the issues. Is a lot of times if something is overdone, when they tune it like the exact opposite.
Yeah.
They don't try to find the middle ground, which is what I don't understand. Like, if it's too much, don't make it to where it's too little. Find the middle. Because again, Mahomes should be able to escape better than Ben Roethlisberger or someone like that. But I still think that. Just that one play that they showed, it kind of made me cringe and think, oh man, this is going to be like everyone in online leagues is going to be looking for mobile quarterbacks in the drafts. They're going to want more mobile quarterbacks, for this very reason.
Yeah.
And so, it's like bringing back Michael Vick age, and no one wants that. So I don't know, and that's just speculation. I haven't played it myself. Just like you said, just based on what I saw, that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah, that's the tough part. I wish you or I could have been at EA Play. That would have been a ton of fun, and we didn't get to play it in hand. And I think it's important to note that yesterday was played on arcade, at least what we got to see. I'm not 100% sure. My assumption would be that the guys who got to play it, the experts, the Hollywoods, those kinds of guys out there that were there at EA Play and got to play it. Hopefully, they got to play it on different modes. That'll be a good question to ask those guys. Arcade, you expect to see some of that stuff. You expect to see the quick twitch, the no speed, the play with Camaro, right, where He takes the angle route, 2 spins and a juke move, and he's in the end zone. Like, you expect those kinds of plays, and hopefully that's tuned down and turned down for the other modes. But I like what you've seen. I like that it feels more fluid. I like the fact that if I'm trying to hit a hole, that I can make a little twitch of a move and hit the hole that I want to hit. And I'll also say that I fully understand what EA Play is. I think it's important to keep EA Play in its proper perspective, in the context that it is a marketing tool and nothing more. I mean, there are much cheaper ways to get the game in hand and get feedback and get excitement if that's what you're trying to do. That's not what they're trying to do. They're not. I mean, they may, an offspring of this may be, we do get some feedback and we do get people out there talking about the game, but it's a marketing tool to create excitement and hype for the casual gamer, the biggest portion of the audience that will spend the money on the game, the guys who will go out and buy the game on drop date and then be done in September and off to the next EA release. That's what they're trying to reach, and that's what EA Play is designed for, and the rest of us are trying to glean what we can glean from it, which is why we've seen it on arcade mode, the big plays, the crazy plays, right? That's what we know the casual NFL watcher and Madden game player, again, that's going to play this game for a couple of months and then move on to the next EA release. That's what they're looking to build the excitement for. But what are your overall thoughts? I know that there's a ton of information out there, and I know over the next few days we'll get even more, and at Grown Folks we'll make sure that we blast it out so that we share anything that we see that comes across our fingers. But there is a lot of excitement, and you and I had this, part 1 of the podcast that we tried to do, we had this really interesting conversation. And just FYI, if this one gets shut down too, I am recording this one, so we can definitely put it back up in a little later. But I think what happens is people go to EA Play, they play the first phase of this game. It's not quite finished. But then again, talking about the casual gamer, the people who spend the most money on this game, all of this feedback starts coming in. And they try to change the game to fit everybody. And when you try to fit everybody, you end up fitting no one. And the game that we get in August is not the same game that we have in November, which is not the same game we have in January. And the game in the past has progressively gotten worse. I've talked to developers. I'm not a developer. It's way over my head. People who make much more money than I do understand these things, but they say for every bug that you fix, you actually uncover 2 to 4 more bugs, and then you just end up chasing your tail. And so EA and Madden and the team, I'm assuming, has to pick and choose their battles of where they're going to go with this. And so I think that the reason there is so much hype, so much excitement, and you say this, and I don't want to steal your thunder, I'll let you say it again, but there is that, it's new, it's fresh, there's that excitement of something different in our hands. I think we can all agree with the news that this game is going to be different. One, love it or hate it, is up in the air. Better or worse is up in the air, but it will be different, and I think different is an improvement, because people have said it's just felt like the same game over and over and over the last few years, just repackaged. But this game is going to play different. But there is that newness factor, but I also think that the game may be better here now and in August than it is later because of all the changes. But what are your overall thoughts from everything that we've seen, read, and heard?
Well, one thing I wanted to make a note on was that Alvin Kamara play that you're talking about. That was actually played on sim mode. If you go back and watch the video, that was the only video that was shown.
Oh, God. That makes me worry then.
Well, I know, but that was actually played on sim mode. But see, and that takes me back to my point that I talked about when we got shut down earlier about, I understand from a business standpoint they have to cater to different customers. And like you said, the casuals may be their larger customer base. But they made these 3 modes. They should play differently to cater to the different customers that they have and that they're trying to cater to, instead of trying to mix it all up and put it all together. Because what you saw there, you noted, it looked like something that you would expect to see on arcade mode, and it did. He caught the ball, and then he made a spin and a juke and a spin, and he's in the end zone. It's like, that looks like arcade mode, and if that's how someone wants to play, that's fine. That's what arcade mode should do. but the game should be coded to when you switch to comp or sim, it should play differently from each one of them. Each one of them, it should play differently. Otherwise, I don't really see a point in having the 3 different modes. I mean, they do play slightly different. There's a slight difference, all right? The arcade mode is more explosive plays and stuff like that. Stuff is overpowered, never blown. Then you got your comp mode where they don't really have injuries and penalties. That's really about the only differences there are between those and sim mode. And it should be a greater difference to cater to the different customer bases that they have. I don't know why they don't do that, and it frustrates me to no end. Because, like you said, that play looks like something that you would see in arcade mode, but that was an actual sim mode play. So, that frustrates me from that standpoint. I don't know why they spent the time making the developers make these 3 different modes that barely play that much different. So, overall, I don't know. Like you said, it's definitely going to be different. It's going to be a different game. Whether we like it or whether we hate it, that's up in the air. But I do think, with the X factors that they're adding and stuff like that, it's definitely going to feel different. The passing trajectory stuff, I still, just from the videos, I didn't really notice that much difference. I've seen a few pass plays that I thought that it looks just like what I saw. There was one pass play, I think Ben Roethlisberger was the one who threw it. He threw it to the left-hand side. There was a receiver cutting over in the left about 15 yards deep. 2 linebackers were chasing him, and he led them out farther to the left. But that looked just like something that I would do in Madden 19. So I don't know. Again, I don't know. I haven't played it. I'm just saying, based on what it looked like, that didn't really look that much different. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. I do think it'll be a little different, but we'll have to see. Like I said, once we get it in our actual hands and see what's going on, and then 2 months later, how's it playing after that?
Yeah,
because that's really the last few years. That's really been the big crutch that has really just broken it. It's just they've taken things and swung it too far from one side to the other, and they just don't find that middle ground. And again, and this is something I've often wondered if they really wanted those 3 different game modes to play different. When they're asking people for feedback, why aren't they asking them to specify what mode you're talking about?
Yeah.
So they're not doing that because they're not actually trying to make it play different on the different modes outside of maybe on arcade mode, the players have boost in their abilities, and comp mode, they just take out penalties and injuries, but it's not really playing that much different because they're not actually, when they're taking that feedback, they're not actually looking for, well, are you playing this on arcade mode? Is that what you're talking about? If you want to see it like this, play like this, or are you playing on sim mode? I've always found it odd that they added those, but they never asked that question.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that I said this in the first podcast. The Kamara play concerned me, and it's even more concerning that you picked up that it was on sim mode. Again, it's not a finished product, and who knows, right? And it was also with his X Factor fully engaged, and so look, there are definitely some concerns. I think everyone who runs a CFM that is, I hate this word nowadays, but sim, quote unquote sim, which just basically means you have rules that govern your gameplay. It's concerning, as is the quarterback running that you talked about in the quarterback movement. But again, I don't want to pass judgment. So we've seen literally, I mean, I could go back and look, but like 4 plays, if I remember correctly. I mean, it wasn't a lot. I would say I'm super excited about X Factor. I said this in the first part 1. Like, I think that is a good thing. I think it's good that individual players will have individual feel and individual skill set. Kamara in the past, that type of player, like a NFL really great player, but on the game, 88 speed or whatever, they were down a notch from what you see in real life, right? And that was because speed is always going to be a king here. And I think with X Factor, it allows that ability for those players to not be almost useless or be like a downgraded version of what the real life player is. I'm interested to see how overpowered is it going to be? I think there's always going to be a level of overpoweredness because it's a new thing. They want people to use it. They want people to really feel it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's tuned a little bit, or if, look, the CFM community is a smart community. They'll figure out how to tune it in some way, form, or fashion. I'm also really, really intrigued about how's it integrated into drafts. Do we only have 2 or 3 players coming out with it? Do we have 55 players coming out with it? Is it half the draft coming out with the X Factors? Can X Factors be developed? Like, there's just a lot of questions about how this is going to work in drafts. And then what abilities do you have in the custom draft? Are the custom drafts going to go away this Madden? Are they still going to be there? And then X Factors is an editable section? If so, does that allow us to go into the current rosters and edit that? So it's just some questions about how it will actually work. And then I'm interested in, again, I've kind of put his stuff over a couple times, and that's because he's always been really cool to me. But Expert is out there. You can see his video that's on Daddy Leagues right now. Go support his stuff. He'll put out stuff. Hollywood's another guy that I really enjoy, both of which I'll have on our Grown Folks podcast called Press Pass Live here soon. So, little plug for our Press Pass Live podcast. Give us a subscribe. We always try to start those podcasts out with an interview, and then we get into the OMFL Madden talk. But I'm interested to hear from those guys that got to play. What mode did you play on? What did it feel like? Did you play on multiple modes? Did they feel different? Was there, the gameplay style, did it play differently in those different modes? So those are some of my questions about how will it work and what will it feel like. But overall, I guess the question I want to move to you before we move to what's still missing and what's still out there is like, are you more excited today, less excited, or still optimistic, pessimistic? Where do you stand with what we've gotten up to this point? And I'll add, I think that we talked about it. The game's going to play different, and I also have to give it to them. Whether you love it or hate it, I think people have made a good point on Twitter. I hate Madden. I'm never going to buy it. I'm lighting, my torch and grabbing my pitchfork, and everybody should boycott Madden and just all of this talk that's out there. And then in the same voice, mad because they can't get a beta code. But wait a second, weren't you just mad 2 seconds ago that you were boycotting Madden? And now you're up. It's look, the Madden community can be, an addict sometimes and fiending for their fix, and yet spitting on the very thing that they say they don't need a fix for. And so I will say that they're at least putting out news this year, and they're really going above and beyond, I think, to get news out there. Now, whether you like the news and whether you think it should be more or less or whatever, that's your personal feeling. At least we're getting news, because I remember 2 years ago, it was July, and we still had no news at all about the game, and people were pretty frustrated about that. We talked about it on our Daddy Leagues The Talk podcast about how there were just no news at all. But overall, what are your feelings? What are your thoughts? Are you more optimistic, pessimistic, excited, not excited? What are you feeling?
I'm about where I was before, really. I didn't really take a lot away from what they showed yesterday. I take everything that people say at EA Play with a grain of salt because it is new and fresh. And again, we know whatever comes out in August may not be that way in September. So, yeah. And I can't go by anything but EA's track record, and it stinks to me. That's just bottom line. And not just Madden. If you look at what they've been doing in their other games in the last couple of years, they've all been taking big hits because they're not producing quality anymore. It's not just Madden. That's the problem. It's not just Madden. Anthem was a flop. The Star Wars games was flops. Yeah. Both of them. And it's just Star Wars. I mean, how do you screw that up? So with the EA's track record, I don't have high hopes because I can't. I hope that they can prove me wrong. I hope that they can. I just don't see it because, like we talked about, it just seems like they want to take feedback from everyone and put it all together and say everyone play this one way, even though we've got 3 different modes that really don't play a lot different. I mean, I cannot be hyped about it. I just can't. I've gotten to the point, fool me once, shame on you, fool me 15 times, shame on me. I've gotten to that point now. I'm just like, I cannot get hyped over this. I just can't. It's going to play different. I hope that it plays better. I understand the people who, talk about boycotting it. I support that. If you feel like that it's not good, you shouldn't give them your money. And if you really want to buy it because it is an NFL title, I think go out and buy it used a few weeks later. or wait a few weeks and it'll be half price because that's what they've been doing with all their games recently. So I understand that point of view, but at the same time, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we can give the feedback, and whether they're going to do anything about it or not, that's up to them. It's basically going to be based on the people above them and what they tell them they can and can't do, and that's really where the issue lies, is the people above the devs. But we'll just have to see. I mean, I could have sworn they said that they were going to do another blog on franchise. Like they said this a few weeks ago when they did the franchise blog, and they haven't said anything about that since. So I'm kind of curious about that. One thing I was wondering, in franchise, will it, like in the game planning screen, will it show you players that you're getting ready to play against who has the X factors? Like, let's say you're playing the Chiefs, will it show you that they have Mahomes and like two other players, like Hill or something, that has X factor? Will that show you in the game planning part so that you can be planning that in your game planning, or is that like left out? I'm kind of curious about that. They haven't mentioned that, but it's something I was thinking about yesterday when I was looking over this stuff. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Well, let's go there, right? Let's talk about what's missing. And that's why we do this podcast, too, because I know that you and I have kind of two opposite views, but run similar style leagues. And so, that's why we do this podcast together. But let's talk about what's still missing out there. What's the information that, like you just said, with the franchise, what else is out there that's still missing that you really want to get some answers to?
Well, that first thing that I mentioned there is one thing that I would really like to find out. And like you mentioned about the draft classes, how is that handled?
Yeah, I'm super interested in that.
If you want to do custom classes, are you able to edit what X factors they have, or how does that work? If you take a player who's not an X factor, but then you have him up to one, how does that change? And what determines what X factors he gets? Is it a random thing, or is it based solely on just his attributes, or what? Some of those things that I'm pretty interested in. I'm always interested in actually seeing the rookie draft classes, and anyone who does get a beta code, I would ask that you please check that and see if they actually match up with the stock roster that it comes with. EA always seems to fail at that, even though they say that they worked really hard on it. For some odd reason, every year they seem to just totally miss doing that somehow. I'm interested to see how all that plays out, because all I play is online franchise. That's the only reason I even mess with the game, is because of the league. They don't really talk much about Coach Glass, which I think is a great thing. I hope it's still in.
Oh, God, me too.
I would love to see them integrate that and use Coach Glass information on player tendencies and player play calling into online leagues, to use, tying them in with coordinators to, give you suggestions. There's a play suggestion screen in the game. I would love to see in the franchise where you can go to the suggested plays and it'll tell you, based on your opponent and what he does in that CFM, based on his play calling, what he might be getting ready to run and what you should run to counter it. Because that's what a coordinator does, right? In the NFL, that's what real coordinators do. They study your opponent, they find out their tendencies, and they tell you, I think this is what's going to happen. You need to, look at running this, or they give you that helpful information. I would love to see the suggested plays in franchise be based solely off of that individual opponent in that franchise, what his tendencies are. I would love to see that. And I'm hoping next year they're going to add coordinators, because I know that's something that people have been hitting them hard on. If they do it, I would like to see them turn it in to this, using that information that they already are gathering.
Yeah.
Using that information and making it a very useful tool. I would love to see them update the MCA app for online leagues. There are so many things that they could do, dealing with, trades and drafts, signings, signing free agents, just all kind, spending your XP points even. There's so many things that people who play in online leagues who don't have a lot of time when they're at home would love to be able to do when they're out on the go with their phone. And they should be able to. It's 2019, and it's very feasible that these things should be done. They put this app out years ago. I guess it's been 3 years now, and they've not really updated it since for online leagues. And I don't really, it's like they just made it and just dropped the ball. It's like, well, here you go, bare minimum. But this is it. I would love to see that updated. That's something that they don't even mention anymore. There's just, I don't know, man. There's just so many things that going into front end loading and back end loading contracts. Scouting, I would love, it seemed like they said that they had redone something in scouting, but they haven't really told us what.
Yeah, I thought we had heard that contracts weren't going to be changed, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I thought that there definitely was some contract news that had came out, but I could be totally wrong.
There was some, but they didn't really give any detail, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there is some change to contract, but we don't know, can you front end and back end load them, or what, they just don't give us good detail on that. So those are some of the things that I feel like they need to put this information out and like actually give us real details on how these things work out. There's just, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of different things in there that they kind of have us hanging on. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know that we'll ever get this, but I'm also very interested about. We know that the new PlayStation, Xbox, they're both dropping in the next year or two. Probably next year is some of our assumptions, but definitely within the next 2 years. Some of me wonders how much time is needing to be dedicated to that. How much, I know that the big thing that we've seen many videos about was that from PlayStation 2 to 3, 3 to 4, that they would almost have to rewrite the game. And so they made a move to a system where they wouldn't have to do that. And so my hope is that as long as that's still a thing and they're not having to completely revamp this game, can they just continue to slowly take steps in the right direction, right? Can we just move the game forward? And that's something that we can all agree we haven't seen up to this point. Now, we're hearing that 19 to 20 will be a step in that direction, but we haven't truly seen it from 17, 18, 18 to 19. And so that's one of the things that I'm interested, that's just kind of out there and just something that I want to think about. The things I think that are missing for me is kind of what we talked about, the different play modes. Do they actually play different? The X factors, the drafts, I'm very interested in how that works out. I just personal opinion, I don't get that caught up over coaching carousels. I don't get that caught up over contracts. Like, the reason for me, again, in my league, it just becomes more stuff I have to manage and more stuff for guys to find loopholes in and find how to use to their advantage, and that stuff is pretty frustrating. I hope that the player progression system has only improved and not going backwards. I personally really like how it is now, and if there's some steps and some tweaks they can do to it, but man, please don't go back to where guys can start putting it where they want, and like it just gives me more stuff as a commissioner that I have to manage and that I have to do. Yeah, and so, like, I don't have a ton of missing stuff. We could get super in-depth like you, and like Coach's Glass, which is a thing I use every time I play. I think it's a super under-talked about, undervalued aspect to Madden that's been out there. If you don't use Coach's Glass, man, you're doing yourself a massive disfavor. That is a freaking awesome, awesome tool. How could they go a step further with that? But then, I guess my counter-argument to that would be, do you really want them using the time to make Coach's Glass better, or would you rather see them use that time to add in that coaching carousel? Here's the thing that I think, and maybe there is a very real reason. The reason we don't get ambulances, the reason we don't get, helping players off of the field, right, the flying off of helmets, is because NFL is like, no, we don't want to present our game that way, the concussions, all that stuff. So I get that. Is there a reason that we can't export rosters? Because if you allow me to export rosters to play an offline head-to-head, online head-to-head non-ranked game with, that's a game changer. Like, that is an absolute, like, to me, again, just my personal view, beyond coaching carousel, which is a freaking another thing I have to manage, and another thing guys are going to take advantage of, and another thing I got to put rules around, contracts, another thing I got to manage, another thing I got to put rules around so that guys don't abuse it, because they will. Guys will find the loopholes in every single thing they add to this game. That's just competitiveness of humans. Beyond, like, all that stuff that you're actually just making more work for me to manage, and I personally would rather it doesn't add that much to the game, and it just adds more work than it adds great things. Like if it's offline, right? If it, like in the offline mode, that's awesome. But I would much rather let me export my roster. Let me be able to play 3 seasons, week 4 roster that I have in my CFM against someone else, 3 seasons, week 4 against their team, where now I can now play with my same roster. We could play tournaments. We could, like, there's just so much more that I could add to my experience from my owners and get more buy-in and more, inclusiveness, more just everything. Like that would be a super exciting addition, and it's always at the top 3 of my wish list of Madden that I know is not on the top 3 and not even really thought about for most people, but for me that would be a really, really big addition. Which kind of brings me to my last subject as we kind of start to land this plane, and that's the closed beta. I know that you have some pretty strong feelings about closed beta. I know that we talked about them and heard about them yesterday, but it was announced that the closed beta is out. I personally feel like it is going to be a closed beta, but not a closed beta, if that makes sense, right? Like, I think there are going to be so many codes out there and so many things that are just floating out there that most people who put forth any type of effort are going to get their hands on it. And my hope is that people that matter, like you, like league crawlers and Madden Baller Leagues and all these really great leagues that are out there, our partners at Grown Folks, the Soden Bowl, like I hope that everybody who needs to get their hands on it gets their hands on it. But what are your thoughts about the closed beta, and what are you hoping comes out of this?
Well, I'm not a fan of the closed beta. I feel like if you're truly, there's so many games out there, and EA actually, EA Battlefield 1 and 5 both had open betas, and it just blows my mind that for whatever reason they feel like they have to make this some type of special seclusion that you get into. If you want feedback, let people give you feedback.
But do we really think that they want feedback?
No, I don't.
I think feedback is stage 2, right? Feedback is the offshoot of what they really want. And again, and I know that you have super strong feelings, and I don't want to turn it into that, but it's a business, and what they really want is hype and the excitement, and they want media coverage. That's what they really want, and feedback is secondary. And I think that some of these guys, like Clint, and like these guys who like that's what they do, they really care about that. But ultimately, they don't own EA. They don't own the Madden franchise. Like they're going to get paid one way or the other. And the company itself is really only interested in the media hype. And I think the developers are like, okay, we understand that, so we're going to have to do this. But what can we try to glean from it? And that's the feedback.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that bothers me, just from a personal standpoint.
Sure.
Is it's really just a marketing tool that they're using, and they're using all these people to do all these retweets and all this other stuff to either get followers for the people that like they're influencers, which the fact that they came out and just gave them that name, it used to be Game Changers, now they call them influencers. Yeah. It says everything about it personally. But most of them are like, well, you got to follow me and retweet and do this and do that, and you might get a code. Well, that's great. And if you don't, well, hey, you're following this guy, which is what he wanted. I just don't like that. It's a gimmick to me. I don't like it. If you are really concerned about feedback, open the beta. Let people who really care about the game actually give you real feedback. Well, another thing that I really dislike, and I know a lot of people say, well, online leagues are like a minority group or whatever. That's fine. But they clearly make things for online leagues.
Sure.
The MCA app by itself was made for online leagues.
Sure.
Offline people don't really use that. So what I would like for them, because we have these talks, and we both of us talk to many other commissioners, people who run other communities, and every time something is announced, automatically our brains as commissioners are firing on, like you just said, what kind of problem is this going to cause in the league? What kind of problem is this going to cause me that I'm going to have to deal with? Am I going to have to find a way around this? Things like that is why I feel strongly that they should have some type of subdivision or whatever you want to call it of people. Even if you're going to give a closed beta, they need to pick not just one or two leagues. They need to pick numerous leagues, get their commissioners in there, get some of their players in there. Let them help test these things in the beta stages so they can bring up the issues that are going to come up in the online leagues so that EA can get ahead of them, even if they can't get them all fixed before launch. If they can start working on those things before it launches, it can help out drastically when it does launch.
And we know that happens because, from what I understand, and I could be totally off base, but how it was kind of framed to me, that one of the big reasons we have an app is because of DaddyLeagues' influence with people at EA and their ability to say, oh yeah, we need to get an app because of this service that hits a very large portion of our audience out there. And so, like, they already have some built-in relationships where they could actually go to Daddy League and say, hey, give us the top 30, communities out there, leagues out there. Give us the top 30 active leagues, and we're going to send out 30 codes, one to each of them, to let someone there play and give us feedback. So we know that there are some mechanisms there that could be tapped if they want it to go that direction.
Yeah, and that just, because that's the only thing that's the only reason I play Madden. That's the only reason I care about it.
Me too.
And it's not just about me. It's not just about my league. We talk to these other guys too, and each league is different, which is, it has its own thing. But at the same time, we all feel a lot of the same ways about gameplay. We all feel a lot of the same ways about different ways that franchise works, and like looking for bugs. And like, it seems like a couple of years ago, but actually I think it even worked last year. It was a known thing by a lot of people. If you had to re-sign a player, all you simply had to do was go in and bump up his salary 2 points of whatever it was, and bump up his bonus 2 points of whatever it was, and 90%, 95% of the time they would accept it on the first go. There's just little things like that people, as commissioners, we know people, like you said earlier, they will try to find a way to abuse something. And so our minds are automatically geared to try to find things. And to me, that's what frustrates me, that they don't include more online commissioners. And even like you were saying, like they can give 6 codes to each league, 1 to the commissioner, and he can give out 5 to his player, and like 5 players that he picks or whatever, and let these people who know, whose mindset is already, because the devs, they might play in online leagues, but they don't play probably in online leagues as much like what we've done.
No, I doubt it.
But people like us, and I'm not saying give me a code, give you a code. I'm just saying I want to see more online league commissioners all together involved in the betas, so that they can go through and try to problem solve or find things that they can see people will take advantage of, so they can get it out to EA and put it in front of them and say, this is going to be a problem for online leagues, and you need to go ahead and start working on this now. So that's just my feeling on the beta. It's just marketing. I wish that they would include more online league commissioners just in general. So because it's a different beast than offline,
Yeah.
And they should include offline people too. I'm not saying, don't include them, but I'm just speaking from my own personal experiences and people I've talked with. It seems like online commissioners kind of get left out to dry a lot. So I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, and I think some of these YouTube guys are actually, as their influencers, they're actually the guys causing a lot of issues in CFM, because they'll point out the money plays, and they'll point out the gimmicky plays, and they'll point out the flaws. And then, I know I've got one owner who's a part of my board. He knows he drives me insane, but the truth is that guys are finding it with or without his help. But he'll point out, hey, here's the latest YouTube video, we need to watch for this, right? And it's like, how to get an instant sack in 3 steps of this play call, right? And it just drives me insane that stuff is out there. But I get it. And I would just say that I think that the closed beta is what it is, and it, love it, hate it, indifferent to it, whatever it is, this is the world that we live in, and it's a marketing world, and that's what this tool is going to be for. And I hope, and I do think that some of the guys like Clint and the other people on the team that maybe are less well known will try to glean as much as they need from it. My biggest concern is, like, will they sit in a room and look at all of the feedback and try to find maybe one or two common themes, and not just like chase their tail by like chasing around feedback from all ends of the spectrum. And it's like, okay, look at all of it and throw the bottom end of the spectrum away, throw the top end of the spectrum away. What's kind of in the middle that is common themes, and what's the one or two tweaks that need to come from that? I just think that we would get less of that rubber band effect that I know tends to happen sometimes. Clyde, thanks so much for being on the stream today. We know we did it at a little bit of a weird time with Phooty working, and my church service was actually canceled today. Our pastor was sick, and so we had time and we wanted to knock it out while we could. He brings up a couple of cool points, though, that we could talk about real quick before we wrap up the show. One, he talked about spamming the hit stick, and I know that they put in some things to try to help with the spamming the hit stick, but there are some dudes that are just really good at timing it. And he said, what if there were that ability that if you spam it, it's a higher if you hit the hit stick, that it is a higher chance of injury, even for your defensive player, right? Because we do see that. I think the NFL would squash that. I do think it's a super cool idea, though. I think it'd be a neat addition that, I don't know how it works, but if it was like, 20% more chance of injury every time you use the hit stick. And now guys are really having to pick and choose when they use that thing, because outside of whiffing and missing, there really isn't that big of a payment. And the other thing he talked about would be the auto flip of personnel, which I think would be a really awesome addition, and I'm sure somebody's thought of it. If not, then that's a really great thing that needs to be out there in the world. And so there is the auto flip of play and coverage, and your players will move the coverage depending, but an auto flip in personnel, and that way if the play comes out flipped, that your personnel will actually flip as well, so that strong side, plays the right position, weak side, so on and so forth. I think those are two really neat ideas, but I see that you kind of read them and want to get your thoughts as we put a bow on the show.
Well, I agree with both of those things there. I do like using the hit stick myself. I'm not great at it. I do like using it.
Damn hit sticker.
Well, just because that's one of the things that I miss about football is the hard hits.
Sure.
I understand player safety, I get all that, but it's just why I like football. It's physical. But I do agree in what he's saying about, if you're using, like, let's just say you use one particular linebacker and you do it all the time. He has 10 hits like that a game. Halfway through the season, I would expect it wouldn't be a surprise if he was hurt. Now, and like he was saying, we all understand why the NFL is not going to allow them to have concussions in the game, because it's a sore point. They don't want anything even mentioned about it, so I get that. But you could do something like a broken collarbone.
Yeah.
Or a dislocated shoulder. Or, there are other injuries that they could throw in there, and that it could punish you. Not every time, you could use one guy one season and he has 100 hit sticks and he doesn't get injured.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Right, but the next season he might come out and his first one he does it and he's out for the season. Just something I agree, something should be thrown in there to make it to where you're going to pay a consequence if you're overusing. Because like you mentioned, they did add in the thing, I think it was last year, or it might have been the year before, I can't remember anymore, where it is harder to hit with a hit stick, and if you mistime it, then your guy is basically just taken out of play because he's like stuck in this stupid animation where he looks like he's drunk and falling over. So I did like that they added that to like give it some penalty, but like you said, there are still some guys who are just so good at it. It would be nice if and I think this was 2K that did this back in the day. Like they had an injury system where you saw the whole body of the player.
Yeah.
And then like you would see areas that would be yellow or something.
Yeah.
Like you needed to rest some or whatever. Something like that would be really cool, I think, to add into the game, especially for franchises for these type of reasons that we're mentioning here, or like if you're overusing the guy.
Because you don't have that right now, right? You don't have players that are sat even without an injury because, they could get injured because they're, a red ankle, because they've ran the ball 500 times in 3 weeks, right? I do agree. That would be a super cool addition.
Yeah, and right now, like I said, we don't have that, so people can just overuse a player, and injuries just seem totally random. I mean, you can have a guy injured that's not even doing anything on the play, and he hasn't been used much, but somehow he's out for 8 weeks or whatever. So system like that, I think, would be good to have added.
Yep. Anything that makes an owner think, anything that engages an owner. And again, I know that people would grossly disagree with me, and I don't disagree with them. I understand the want, the desire for coaching carousels, for contract, more deeper, editability for contracts and backloading, front loading, all that. Like, I understand all that. But again, my point of view only is that those things are going to be taken advantage of. And I think after 1 or 2 seasons, the gimmickness of it is going to wear off. And it's like, okay, we all have our coaching staffs after season 1. Now what? And okay, you've learned how to backload contracts, and now I've got to go create 3 rules so that we mix it up and we have free agency. Give me exported rosters. Right? Now I can go and I can play with my team more. I can be engaged more. Give me this injury system where now I have to think about my roster. I have to think about who's starting. I got to think about who I'm developing. I got to think about who my backups are. Like, now you're intriguing me as a commissioner. Now you're getting me something I can play with. Now we're cooking with gas. I can give my owners something that is engaging them, making them think through their rosters, making them think through their contracts, making them think where they're spending their money, how they're developing their players. Because right now, they figure that crap out in the first month, and it's autopilot for the rest of Madden, and we get super teams, or there's really not a lot of thought that has to go into it. It becomes very disengaging. Guys start unplugging when the summer gets here, and now I'm having to create new gimmicks to get them to plug in. Whereas if we have these things that we've just talked about in the last 10 minutes, now my owners are engaging on their own. So that's always kind of the reason that I want things that are added that engage my owners and keep them thinking. Personally, I don't think we get there with coaching carousels. I personally don't think we get there with contract edits and front loading back. I get why people want it. I just don't think it engages owners the way an injury system like you guys just talked about would, the way exporting rosters would. Like, imagine the possibilities for an NBC and a OMFL cross league tournament in the middle of December when a lot of people have time off with giveaways, because now you can play with your NBC team and I can play with my OMFL team. Like, now we're getting engagement. Now we're adding some things that really get people talking and get excitement built. I'm sorry, it just doesn't get me there because I hired a special teams coordinator that gives me, a 1-point boost to all my special teams players.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned the thing about the exporting rosters. That's something that I, too, have been asking for. And one of the first things that came to my mind about asking for it was when you have a bye week. For all the guys in the online league who have a bye week, they hate it because you don't get anything. And that would be a great time to be able to take your team, play the other guys who have a bye week, and not, it doesn't really go towards anything, but it lets you try new plays that you may not want to play in your league games because you kind of want to stick to plays that you like, but you want to try out new plays, and that's a good place to do it. And one thing, I think this was in Madden 10, they used to have communities in the game, right? And what it was is you could invite people to your communities, and you could match up head to head online in those communities. Now, and I thought this then, and I still think this today, that would be a great thing to bring back. Bring in, like you're saying, bring in the exporting of your rosters to those communities, right? So you could have communities like you're saying, and even added on to that, which I know this would take 20 years for EA, but add in tournament brackets. You can set how many players are going to be in the tournament in the community. And then you just invite the guys that's already in your community that you've gotten in the community, and we could take different places. Different leagues could join different communities. You could have your whole leagues, like 6 leagues in the community. You can have a tournament bracket in that community.
DaddyLeagues, right? A DaddyLeagues community that hosts a Christmas tournament, right?
DaddyLeagues did a tournament last year about this time, I think. It was a little different, but you were stuck playing head to head. That was the only way to do it. It's just the only way the game allows it. But yeah, there could be all kinds of different things that all kinds of different people could set up communities, and then you could export your rosters. You could do it however you wanted. I mean, you could set it to where you only use the stock rosters or whatever.
Let me even one up you. As a commissioner, could you imagine the ability to set up a community with your current rosters and allow people to try out with the open teams that you're trying to fill? So you don't get the owner who joins it 3 weeks into it, has made a bunch of moves, says, oh, this team sucks, I'm out of here. They get to play with that team right away and tell you, oh, you know what, nah, I can't really work with this, and so I'll wait. Or, hey, no, this excites me, let's do it, right? Like, just that alone would save so many commissioners time and energy and effort. I think it would be just such a great... exporting rosters would be a game changer.
Yeah, your idea there is an excellent idea, and that's not something that I thought about, but that is a great point, and and that's why I think it's good that we have different places where commissioners can talk and bounce these ideas, and that's why I really, really wish that EA would include some type of. It doesn't have to be a game changer program or I don't care what you want to call it. Just a round table of online commissioners that you allow them to bring to you their ideas and things that they talk about amongst each other. And these ideas, like what you just brought up, is a great idea that would be so. I don't know any league that would be like, oh, I don't want that. They would love it, just for what you mentioned, let alone the other things we mentioned before that. And that's why I just really wish that EA would reach out to more online leagues and say, commissioners, and say, look, we understand that you guys have, there's different problems and issues and wants and needs for an online league than it is for anything else. Just like it's different for offline leagues, just like it's different for MUT, but they already have specific people that they talk to about MUT. And and they talk to some people about franchise and offline franchise. But I really wish they would include more online commissioners just for this reason. Like, there are great ideas like what you just mentioned out there that I've heard many people bring up, but I don't know if it falls on deaf ears or what, but that's why sure. I would like to see EA have a more concentrated effort towards online league commissioners of getting their feedback directly from them, because each one of them normally, on average, I would say represents 20 to 32 people. Most of them probably on the higher end.
Yeah.
There are leagues that maybe average 20, but you're just by including the commissioners themselves, you're reaching an even larger base, because they're asking their owners, what would you like to see? And that's where they get these ideas. That's where we get our ideas from. So that's just there's so much that could be done. We all know that they have limited time, and according to the people above them, limited money, which is very frustrating with how much they make every year off the game. I'm not against anyone profiting. Let me say that. There's nothing wrong with making money. That's what a business does. But when you're making, $500 million in every year, I think you can afford to do a little better. That's just my personal opinion. But
I think we just made the case for exporting rosters being at the very tippy top of that list. Do you agree or disagree with us? We'd love to hear your comments. And this part 2 really has taken on a new twist here at the end that I really wasn't expecting and wasn't on the agenda. And I think it would be a great talking point. We're sorry that we couldn't show any video. We tried that in part 1, and YouTube said no bueno, and they shut us down pretty quickly. And so hopefully this one's not shut down. But even if it is, I recorded it. And so this thing will go up one way or the other. But it's out there. Go support EA. Look, I'm going to make a pitch for a couple guys that have always been super cool to me. The Madden Bomber League. I haven't seen a ton from them from EA Play, but I know that they're, head media guys out there, and so I expect some things to come out from him. The Dynasty sends Expert out there, and or Expert probably sends himself, but you know what I'm saying. He represents the Dynasty, so make sure to support his stuff. And then Hollywood, who just seems like the nicest guy in the world. I think we're going to try to get him on our Press Pass Live podcast next week. At least that's the hope. But let me tell you about us before I tell you where to find all of our Daddy League stuff. Phooty T, tell people where they can find you on Twitter and where they can find out more information about the NBC.
Well, on Twitter, under the handle at PHTYT, and
Could you pick a more convoluted name, please, that is just the most difficult thing to find?
Well, I went with something that I knew that no one else will have.
Oh, boy, you hit a home run there.
I was like, I don't want to sit here all day and try to figure out, like, go through 20 different names to find one. So I went with what I figured would work, and it did. So, yeah, and our league is at DaddyLeagues.com/MBC. We have some guys that are still going through right now. They're kind of messing around, but we're pretty much shut down until the start of new Madden. But I think we have a few spots that'll be open when the new Madden comes out, and it's normally a first come, first served basis for that. We just kind of looking forward. I think EA Access actually is on PS4 now, so we can actually play it. I think at the end of July. I think we can actually play it at the end of July now. So it's only like a month and a half away.
Well, as your close gamer friend, that hurt a little bit because you can actually find the NBC at grownfolksoc.com/NBC. Go check them out there. Then I am Nate. Went by kind of real Nate for a long time, which was just a joke on the name because everybody's the real whatever, and I thought it was funny. Anyway, it's changed now. It's just Nate. You can find my personal Twitter at Nate Lejeune, Lejeune. I can tell you now, though, I am a pastor and a Christian, and so a motivational speaker, all that fun stuff. And so that's what my personal Twitter is for. If you're looking for gaming stuff, which I'm sure you are, follow my community at Grown Folks OC on Twitter, and then our website grownfolksoc.com. You can find. Holy cow! I think Phooty T just hit lightning speed and disappeared on us. That was a weird sound. GrownFolksOC.com. You can check out the OMFL there. And, of course, our Daddy Leagues page, DaddyLeagues.com/OMFL. We also have the OMFL 2 and many other leagues, 7 other leagues in the Grown Folks online community, plus golf and PUBG and WWE and FIFA and like a zillion other things, MLB, 2K, basketball, just all kinds of stuff. So come and check us out. We appreciate everybody supporting us. Of course, Daddy Leagues, that's why we're here. Daddy Leagues on Twitter. Go give them a follow if you have a CFM and don't have a Daddy Leagues page. Shame on you because you're missing out. And then, of course, DaddyLeagues.com. You can check out all the latest The Talk podcasts, even back the last couple of years. They're on there. Plus, a bunch of leagues have posted their own headlines and articles. You can go check those out. But make sure that you support our friends over at Daddy Leagues because we appreciate the support that they give us. And until next time, we'll give you some more Madden 20 news. And so we'll wait till some more stuff comes out. I think the next thing will be the beta is going to be dropping here in the next, week or two, 10 days, something like that.
I think it's Friday.
Is it the Friday? Okay, is it Friday through Sunday?
Yeah, this upcoming Friday through Sunday, I believe.
All right, so the beta will be out Friday through Sunday. We'll wait until everybody gets to play that and get some feedback. Look, if you're looking to give out some codes, Phooty T is the guy. He'll give you some good, honest, maybe a little harsh feedback, but it's going to be good and honest, whether it's good or bad. And so we'll get some feedback, and then we'll host another The Talk podcast right after the beta is closed and talk about what we've seen and felt and heard and all that fun stuff. Until then, for Phooty T, for all the leadership here at Daddy Leagues, thank you so much for watching the podcast. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you. Peace.